right, crew. Title. On the next blank page, we're going to do a little bit of review, some things that you've definitely done with Miss Williams. Nathan, title is on the board, so just open up to the next blank page, and that is going to be your title. All right, so you guys have been talking about area with Miss Williams. So we're just going to do a little bit of a review just to make sure we're all on the same page. What is area? What does that mean? Oh, you got to raise your hand. We're not just yelling our thoughts out. Madison, what are our thoughts? Okay, definitely talking about inside. Evelyn, what do we know about area? Beautiful. Beautiful. Fantastic definition. We're going to write it down. If I'm writing, you're writing. Area is the measurement of the inside space I will get out of the way in just a second. Of a 2D shape. We're looking at that inside space. How much space something takes up.
Why does it look like you're writing cursive?
Because sometimes I connect my letters.
It's like you're combining it, right?
So far, so good? Happy with that?
Yes.
Circle 2D in your notebook. Circle 2D in your notebook. What does that mean? Evelyn said 2D shape. I wrote 2D shape. What does that mean? Nathan, what does that mean?
2D shape means a flat shape.
It is flat. Do you know what 2D actually stands for? You're correct, it is flat, but do you know what that D stands for? Say it again.
2-dimensional.
Beautiful. 2D stands for two. Ooh, my pen's getting a little crazy. Dimensions. Yes.
Does it say, is it 2D/2 dimensions because it's like got two, it's got two sides of a piece of paper, it's 2D, or it's got this side and this side?
No.
Why is it called 2D?
We're going to talk about it. 2D. 2 dimensions. The dimensions is what I'm measuring. The 2 dimensions that I'm measuring of a flat shape are length and width. Those are the 2 things I'm measuring. So a dimension, Evelyn, is something that I can measure. In 4th grade land, you get to add a whole nother dimension. Not only do you get to see how long something is and how wide something is, but you also get to see how tall or high something is. So then you start playing in the land of 3D shapes and how much space a 3D shape takes up.
More.
It would be more because it's bigger. Yes, exactly. We are not going into 3D land here. We're staying in 2D land, which means we are only looking at flat shapes, things that you can only measure a length and a width. Does that make sense?
Why do I feel like this? You can measure a cube like a square.
You can measure a cube like a square, but there's one more dimension.
Oh.
Because we can measure how long it is, we can measure how wide it is, and then a cube, can measure how tall or how high it is.
But yeah, like there's not rolling stuff for the front of the cube or the back, right?
Yeah. How many of you have been to a movie theater?
I have.
Picture close. Most of the time when you watch a movie, it is a 2D movie.
Yes.
It's flat on the screen. Has anyone ever seen a 3D movie?
What about
with those glasses? Yeah. So sometimes you can make a movie be 3D and you get these special 3D glasses. Has anyone ever seen a 3D movie before? Zach, you have? What happens when you watch a 3D movie with those glasses? Say it again. Okay, then make it look real. Gio?
I did it in a roller coaster, but it makes like it makes like you're in the TV.
Yeah. It makes stuff kind of like look like it's coming at you. Like we've added an extra dimension where it's starting to come at you, not just be on the screen.
It sounds no.
That's where that 3D comes from. Yes.
So is that sort of what VR is?
Sit down. You're not doing that while I'm talking. Kind of. Could be. Ish. VR is like a whole other thing. Madison?
Is there such thing as,
What was it on the desk?
is there such thing as 5D?
5D, no, but there is a 4D, and it gets really hard for me to think about, but this is how I kind of understand it. This is like college thoughts. But we have length, width, height, space.
Oh.
Like this way, which is really weird for me to even think about, but mathematicians have figured out a fourth dimension, that 4D. 99% of people are not going to talk about 4D, but that is some cutting edge math. So some mathematicians right now are thinking about that.
I do feel kind of
You got to raise your hand and then wait for me to call you before you start talking. Ariana?
when you're like showing off your 40, everything that I saw would be confusing.
Yeah, I would not stress about 4D. Right now, let's make sure we know length and width. 2D. Carl.
Do you know how to draw one?
Draw one what?
The 4D shape.
No.
You know, I think I know something weird. You know, like we're 3D, right?
We are
If
3D,
you
yes.
look to something called 5D, it's like ultra realism. So like we're in realism.
Nope.
It's like
No
realism.
fighting. No fighting. We're going to keep moving on. Squiggle under what you've written, please. Squiggle under what you've written. We have a new title, subtitle. How do I measure area? This is your subtitle. How do I measure area? Did you write it down? Did you write it down? You wrote down that sentence? How do I measure area? Most of you know the answer to this. We're going to use square units, correct? Why? Why do we use square units? I know you know to use square units, but why? Jalen, click wrong. Jalen?
Did you get an accurate answer?
No. Peter? Carl? Oh, that's okay. Carl?
Because you're measuring.
No. Evelyn? That's okay. Nathan? Nope. Zach?
So yeah, a good estimate.
No. Ariana?
Measuring the
No. Rylan?
we use their unit
No. Heidi?
basically because like squares have the same like measurement on each side. So when we put them together, we're gonna have the same like area we're measuring with. That way we're not like measuring with a triangle and a rectangle.
Sure. We do like squares because I can turn them any other way. Even if I turn it upside down, it's going to give the same length and width. Partially. Maka, what you think? Please tell us what you love off.
So you can put it in a
Yes! We are using square units. I'm writing, you're writing. We know that. But we haven't really thought about why. Why am I using square units? Area is tricky. Trickier than anything you've measured before. Because you're measuring two things at once. What are the two things that you're measuring at once? Because you're measuring a 2D shape. Gabby? I'm measuring length and width. I'm writing, you're writing. When I measure area, I have to measure two things at once. That's way harder than what you measured in first grade. You might have just measured a length. That's way harder than what you did in second grade. You might have been using a ruler. Now we're doing two things at once. What are those two things at once again? Jalen?
Measuring length and width.
Length and width. I'm going to put that under here so I remember. Length and width.
How am I gonna work? Is that like a square with D right there?
Nope, you hear it in width. It's just not very loud. So the reason we use squares have a length and a width. Yes, that's so convenient. I picked something that has a length and a width to measure with. So the reason why we use squares is because squares have a length and a width. So my square units already have my length and my width. That's why I'm using squares. Because it's got the two things that I need. It's got length and width. If I'm writing, you're writing. If there's something on my board, you're writing it in your notebook. I already passed third grade once. Heidi?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So how come like we can't use a triangle to measure? That has a length and a width.
It has a base. Doesn't quite have a width. So length and width actually are interchangeable. I could call all of those sides lengths and that would be fine. But a triangle can be used to measure it if it is half of a square. So I'm sure you've seen this in your iReady lesson. If I had a piece like this, that would be 1/2 of my square unit. Does that kind of make sense? This goes back to the conversation we had in division. Ariana's had this conversation with me. Carl's had this conversation with me. What if there's an extra one or like a little bit? We can break it apart. Right, Carl and I sharing a cookie. We're not just going to throw that cookie away. We're going to break it in half. We're going to get a smaller piece. Same with area. So this triangle you can use, and then use two triangles to make a square. That is fine. But we're not going to use all triangles.
Okay.
Just because that would take 8,000 years.
I have one more question.
Go for it.
What's perimeter then?
Oh, we're going to get there.
Okay.
Zach.
Why can't you use square units in circles?
You can. You can. Let's think about that. Draw a circle.
Does a diamond have a length?
Can a square fit here?
Yeah.
Yeah? What about here?
Yeah.
Yeah? What about here?
Yeah.
Sure. So can I use squares in a circle?
Yes.
But what happens is I get really close and then I have all these little pieces, right? So all these pieces are like what Heidi's talking about. Like, what do I do with those pieces? They still count. And I have to add those up too. It's like my whole pieces. Oh, dang, I forgot I have my eraser on. My whole pieces. Let me draw them back real quick. Plus all those little parts of a piece. Now, mathematicians have found a formula to do that, to do area of a circle. It's way faster than trying to count all those, but some mathematicians have said, oh, I know like a shortcut, if you will. We're not worrying about this in third grade land, but you can use square units. That's how they figured it out the first time. Evelyn.
Is there such thing as 1D?
1D?
And what if there is, what do you, if there isn't or if there is, what do you think it is?
A line.
1D.
What's the one dimension of that line?
Length.
There it is.
You're doing it.
So is there a, Evelyn, is there a 1D shape?
No.
No.
I feel it's clear
You
that
could have a line, but you can't make a shape because you got to have something going the other way to close it. You've got to have some kind of width-ish dimension. Does that make sense?
So 1D, you count like in the like there wouldn't be any 1D shapes in the
That's okay. 1D is just a line. 2D, we now can make a shape. 3D, we make a shape with height. That's how it changes, right? John? I'm going to label my dimensions. One length is 10 inches long. So far, so good? What is the width of this picture? Or the other length of this picture? It's not a trick question. Zach? 6 inches. So far, so good? Happy with that? All right, well, let's draw our other photo. Are we going to draw a triangle? No. Try with a rectangle. Now, this rectangle has different dimensions. This one is a 9-inch by 5-inch photo. So I'm going to label my dimensions. I have 9 inches. Rylan, we're writing. And I have 5 inches. So far, so good. Okay, question. You don't. It doesn't really matter. They're the same. I could turn them sideways. However, is the area it's taking up still going to be the same amount of area? Yes. It will still be the same amount of area, even if I turn it sideways. You take up the same amount of space, whether you're standing up or laying on the ground. Does that make sense? You look different. One of them you look crazy and one of them you look normal, but you're still taking up the same amount of space. And that's what we're measuring. No? Thank you. How much space is my first photo taking up? 10 inches? Is it taking up 10 inches? No. No? It's not. Is it taking up 6 inches? No. 16 inches?
No.
I want to know how much is all of this. With your pencil, lightly squiggle. That's what we want to know. It's like a Pop-Tart. I want to know all that space. How do I do that? How do I know that? Madison?
10 multiplied by 6.
Yeah. Think back to when you square tiles. Put on your laser goggles. Do it right now. Now, look at that. Do you see all those square tiles on there? If you don't, you need to adjust your goggles so you do. I know. Goggles off. Goggles off. I know, I'm writing, you're writing, that I've got 10 square tiles right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my 10. There's a row of 10. We're writing now, Nathan. And I know I've got 6 of those rows because that's what that 6 right there is telling me. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now as third graders, I can put those goggles on and off. I can put those goggles on and see all those square tiles. Could I draw them all? Yeah. Do you remember when we were first learning multiplication and we had to draw all the arrays?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we just know it. We don't have to draw every single dot. Same thing. Math notebook. I don't have to draw my squares, can I? Could I just imagine they're there? Yeah. Put your goggles on one more time. Imagine they're there. But you gotta look at the squares. Alright, take them off. It's an array. Which means if it's an array, I can use the shortcut known as multiplication. I have 10 groups, maybe if it'll write, of 6. Which is worth what? Put it up or it'll be on my desk. 10 groups of 6. What is that worth? Now a trick question. I see lots more hands. 10 groups of 6. Carl? 60. 60 what? 60 what? Mackenzie. What is my unit? No. The unit is the thing I'm counting or the thing I'm measuring with. No. What is the thing I'm measuring by? Ariana? I'm measuring with inches. This would be really crazy if it was miles. Could you imagine 60 square miles of your face because it's a family photo? Yikes. So I am not, Mackenzie, going to write 60 square units. He is not here today. I know what I'm counting by. I'm not counting miles. That's crazy count. What am I counting? Inches. So it's square inches. If I am writing, you are writing. "60 square inches." I'll write that equation down here just so you can see it. You don't have to write it twice. I'm just rewriting it so you can see it. What about our other photo? What would I do to figure out the amount of space that other photo takes up? What would I do? I should see a lot more hands. What would I do? I want to know how much space that photo's taking up. Gabby? Why? On the right track. It does take up 9 inches and 5 inches. Put your goggles on. What you see? We should see an array made out of squares. If you don't see it, you can draw it. That's fine. But if you see it, you don't have to draw it. Gabby? Abby's knowing, hey, I don't have to draw all that. I know that if I see an array, I can do 9 groups of 5, 9 groups of 5, 9 by 5. I'm writing, you're writing. What is 9 groups of 5 worth? I should see every single hand because it's got my 5s in it, which are easy skip counts. I'll wait till I see every single hand. Use your fingers. Doing nothing's not an option. It's 5s. You can figure that out. Jalen, I'm waiting for you to figure it out. Thank you. Colby? Nope. Try again. It is 45. 45 what? Square inches. Because I know what I'm counting. I'm not counting in miles. I've got 45 square inches. My unit's not a mystery. It's an inch. That's what I'm measuring with. Which one would you hang? Which one would you hang? I mean, there's a lot of other factors, right? We don't know what her living room looks like. We don't know what pictures of. Let's assume it's probably of Miss Miller. So, which one would you choose? Mackenzie? The second one? Why?
Because it's smaller and usually sometimes people don't have enough space for like big pictures.
Sure. Mackenzie said it's smaller. Sit up. How does she know it's smaller? They look kind of similar. How does Mackenzie know that that second picture is smaller? She's right, it is smaller. But how does she know that? Evelyn, how does she know that?
She knows it because we found out the area on both of them, and that one is less than 10 times 60.
Yeah.
But there's always telling me
Hang on one second. It takes up less space. That is only covering up 45 inches of space. That's less than 60 inches of space. That's why it's smaller. Go ahead, Evelyn. What?
I would rather
Absolutely. Large pictures of Miss Miller. Love to see it. All right, we've got a task we are going to be working on. We're going to be working on this task in partners. You may use pictures. I'm going to give everybody a graph paper. Graph paper's just got the squares on it. You can use square tiles. All of those options are fine. Can you use Miss Miller?
No.
Nope. Use each other. 2 brains are better than 1 brain. Here's our story. Here's our problem. Here's our task. We've got a girl named Crystal. She wants a new rug. Kind of like Miss Miller wants a new rug because there's a nasty band-aid on it. Gross. She asks the rug maker to make her a rug with an area of 24 square feet. So she wants it to take up 24 square feet. So far, so good. The rug maker realizes there is more than one way that he can make a rug with an area of 24 square feet. And he decides to make all possible rugs and let her choose which one she wants. There's not 24 possible ways. There's not 10 either. So you're going to have to work with your partner to come up. What are some options that that rug maker could say, this will give you an area of 24 square feet for your rug? Are there questions about what we're going to be thinking about? What? That we use for this task. Those of you who use square tiles, how many square tiles did you get out? It's not a trick question. 24. Why? Because you needed an area of 24. Now, Madison, you've got your square tiles arranged in a rug on your desk. Can you tell tell me your dimensions of that rug, your length and width.
Is 3, and then it's 9.
Count it one more time. 8. On the front of your Crystal's Rugs paper, if you have not drawn a rectangle and labeled it 3 by 8, you need to do that.
What if we did it on a list?
That's fine. If you did it on graph paper, that's fine. But make sure that your dimensions are labeled. Raise your hand if your group figured out that a 3 by 8 rug would work. 3 by 8 will work. It'll get you to an area of 24. There are other options. What is another option? 3 by 8 will work. That's one way. Zach, what did your group come up with as another way?
I got
4 times. Not 7. Because 4 times 7 is 28. Look at your graph paper. Maybe recount your squares. Rylan?
4 times 4 by
A 4 by 6. If you don't have a rectangle on the front of your paper, that is a 4 by 6. My area of that is 24. What do you think A stands for? What is 24? Area. I'm going to even put my unit. Square. What are we measuring? What's our unit? Is it feet?
Nope.
Is it
No, it was
feet?
inches. It was feet.
Look on your paper. It'll tell you.
24 square feet. So yeah.
Is it feet or inches?
Feet.
Feet. Okay. There are at least 2 more ways to make a rug. We've got 2 options. Anyone come up with another one? Jayla?
Could 1 times 24 be 1?
Draw a rug.
Not enough space. Yeah, and there's not
Draw a rug that has 1 by 24. If it is a 1 by 24, what's the area?
There's only 21.
Great. If it's a 1 by 24, what's the area? Not a trick question. If you have 1 row of 24 square tiles, how many do you have? Madison? 24. There's one more way. There's one more way. If you don't have these, you need to be adding them to your paper. There is one more way. John, did you figure it out?
I don't know this one way, but it's like one group 24, but 2 groups 12.
2 groups of 12.
Is that one of the ways?
Yeah, so that might look like this. It's still going to be long and skinny. We've got a dimension of 2 and a dimension of 12. 2 by 12. Is 12 by 12 going to give you an area of 24?
No, I did 12.
Well, that's not an option. If I have 12 going across and 12 going down as an array, 12 rows of 12, is 12 rows of 12 going to be worth 24? 12 rows of 12. It would equal 144, not 24. 12 rows of 12. 12 groups of 12. What do you mean you can't do plus? If you have 12 groups of 12, is that 24 things? That's why. It's got nothing to do with plus. 12 groups of 12 is not 24 things. what?
Our group was trying to figure out the last one, and we thought it was 1 times 24, but we do it on the grid paper, only has 20.
Could you draw some boxes?
No, because
What do you mean, no? You can't draw any more boxes?
well, I never told us we could. And never told us we couldn't. We couldn't.
Alright, you're fine. You figured it out. All of those rugs have the same area. Which one do you think Crystal should choose? All of those meet her requirements. She said, I want a rug with 24 square feet. All of those got 24 square feet. Turn around. Turn around. Colby, turn your body around, please. Which one should she choose? Right?
1 times 24.
Who else thinks 1 times 24? Give me a Me Too signal. Alright, why you pick that one?
Because based on Crystal's name, I think she's kind of sassy, and it's sort of like a red carpet, so I think she would want to strut.
That would be very red carpety. It'd be very long and skinny like a red carpet. What rug do you think she should choose? Zach, what you thinking? What is it? 2 times 12. Why?
Because
A 2 by 12.
this way, but then both they can fit one.
Okay, Zach say, you know what? I think 1 by 24 is going to be too skinny. Maybe a 2 by 12, a little wider. I think that one. Anyone else think 2 by 12 Me Too signal? What rug do you think Crystal should pick? John, what do you think?
I feel like definitely not 1 group of 24 because that's way too big, right?
That's, I don't know. She might
I
pick that
feel
one.
like it's just groups of 4.
You think 6 groups of 4?
Yeah.
The 6 by 4? Who else
Yeah.
thinks the 6 by 4 rug? John, why do you think that one?
Well, it's because I think of myself as a crystal, and I'm thinking about what size I have, so you have room for edges.
Sure. There'll be room for other stuff.
That's what I meant by 1.
That looks like a normal sized rug. Who thinks the 3 by 8? Me Too signal if you think the 3 by 8.
I actually feel like
Looks a little more regular. Do all of these rugs meet her requirements?
yes.
Yes.
Are they the same?
No.
No. Are they the same value?
Yes.
Tricky. If you sit at tables 2, 4, 6, make sure your name is on this packet. You're going to put it in the math bin. And work on your math choice board, please. 2, 4, 6. Name. And put it in the math bin. Gabby Nathan, you're going to take it home. So put it in a homework folder, Gabby Nathan. Alright, my other tables, put your name on it and turn it into the math bin. And then you are working on your math choice board. You're working on your math choice board at your seat. I will call those who are working to move around the room.
What? This thing down the back.